The conflict between the United States and Iran is turning into a protracted struggle, far from the quick resolution once anticipated. Initially, U.S. President Donald Trump believed the conflict would end very quickly, following rapid military actions. However, after a few months, the situation looks drastically different. The war is becoming longer and more difficult, defying early expectations. Let's look back at the initial phase of the conflict, focusing on the United States' military response. When the war began, the United States launched rapid attacks on several important Iranian military locations using advanced weapons and missiles. The U.S. military claimed these strikes caused serious damage, significantly weakening Iran's missile systems and overall military strength. Despite the initial damage, Iran soon began retaliating, but with a strategic approach that avoided direct confrontation. At first, it seemed Iran would not be able to respond for very long. But Iran quickly started retaliating in its own way after the initial U.S. strikes. Instead of directly matching U.S. military power, Iran targeted global oil supplies, specifically disrupting shipping routes and major lanes. Iran's strategy has had far-reaching consequences, affecting economies well beyond the U.S. and Iran. The disruption of global oil supplies resulted in oil prices increasing sharply around the world. This increase in oil prices brought economic pressure that many countries began feeling acutely. Ordinary people are feeling the impact through higher prices for gasoline, gas, and food products, making everyday life more expensive. Experts are now noting the complexity of managing this situation for the United States over the long term. Launching military strikes may have been easy, but managing the situation over the long term is proving far more difficult for the United States. Experts believe that while Iran may be weaker in direct military confrontation, it remains capable of creating long-term instability and global tension. In conclusion, this conflict has fundamentally changed from what was first envisioned. This conflict is no longer limited to just the United States and Iran. The entire world is now being affected by it. What once appeared to be an easy fight is now turning into a major problem for the United States, highlighting the challenges of modern geopolitics. Welcome to an analysis of the United States' objectives in the ongoing conflict with Iran. How successful have they been, and what is the outlook for the future? The core question is whether the United States has truly succeeded in achieving its main objectives against Iran. The U.S. primarily aimed for Iran to shut down its nuclear program and significantly reduce its regional power. However, the current reality shows that these objectives have not been completely met so far. Despite U.S. pressure, reports indicate Iran maintains considerable strength and influence. According to various reports, Iran is still continuing several secret nuclear programs. Furthermore, Iran's influence across many Middle Eastern countries still remains strong. Critics argue that this situation highlights a key failure in the current approach. Many say that bombing alone cannot completely weaken a country, especially one with deep regional ties. Without a comprehensive political solution, the conflict could continue for many years, leading to a prolonged engagement. People inside the United States have started questioning whether this war was the right decision, leading to growing domestic debate. Some continue supporting President Trump, believing he gave Iran a necessary, strong response. On the other side, many leaders and experts believe this war could cause severe economic and political damage to the United States. The domestic consequences of a long-term conflict are a major concern for the administration. Long wars require massive spending and dramatically increase the risk to soldiers' lives. Ordinary Americans are already struggling because of inflation and rising oil prices, adding to the pressure for peace. Amid the conflict, discussions about negotiations and agreements have started, with secret talks reportedly underway between the U.S. and Iran. Both countries are actively making efforts to stop the war and reduce the current tensions. The United States wants Iran to place restrictions on its nuclear program, while Iran demands that economic sanctions against it be removed. Although a final agreement is pending, both sides seem to recognize the mutual disadvantages of a prolonged conflict. Both sides now appear to understand that a long war will not benefit anyone, emphasizing the need for a diplomatic solution. Experts believe that successful negotiations could bring relief to the world and help stabilize volatile global oil markets. The conflict between the U.S. and Iran is not just a regional issue. Many major countries around the world are deeply concerned about its global implications. The tension is affecting the entire global economy, prompting countries like Europe, China, and Russia to seek a quick resolution. If the war continues for a long time, international trade, oil supplies, and global markets could be severely impacted. A prolonged conflict could lead to serious repercussions for global markets, triggering a severe economic crisis. In response to the escalating tensions, many countries have urged both sides to maintain peace and de-escalate the situation. Major global powers, including countries in Europe, China, and Russia, are actively pushing for a swift end to the conflict. Organizations such as the United Nations are continuously trying to find a solution through active negotiations and diplomatic channels. Beyond governments, ordinary people now overwhelmingly desire peace more than war, fearing the consequences of continued conflict. History shows that whenever two powerful nations fight, it is the common citizens who suffer the most from the resulting instability and crises. This is why the entire world is closely watching this conflict, recognizing its profound impact on the future of global stability. Experts emphasize that modern wars are not won only through weapons. True victory lies in maintaining long-term peace and stability. The conflict has become increasingly complicated over time, presenting new challenges for all parties involved. The United States showed initial strength, but its biggest challenge now is effectively keeping the volatile situation under control. On the other side, Iran does not appear ready to fully back down, contributing to the prolonged nature of the tension. The world is now focused on the critical decisions that will be made in the coming days to shape the path forward. It is clear that this conflict is no longer as easy as it first appeared, requiring a nuanced approach to resolution. Pressure is growing on President Donald Trump to find a strong and long-lasting solution to this escalating problem. The world hopes both countries can find a solution through negotiations, preventing a severe future economic crisis connected to this conflict.